Hello everyone, my name is Lindsay Handy and this is my EDL 853 Module 14 case study, When a Student's Rights Are Wronged. So about the case, this is just a summary. It is Nottingham High School, which is located in Dover, and it's the only high school in the area that serves over 3,200 students. It's an extremely old building that was built primarily in the 1950s. So it has a lot of relocatable trailers that are used as classrooms. Most of the school, about 3/4, is up to code in terms of state and federal regulations for the individuals with disabilities. However, that still leaves 1/4 of the school that is not up to code due to lack of funds. This community really enjoys their Friday night evening football games as well. About the case, there is a football player and a student named Miguel Hernandez who got a spinal injury during one of the Friday night football games, which left him paralyzed from the waist down. Once he was cleared to return back to school, the parents met with the school counselor to discuss his return. And during the meeting, it was discussed that Miguel will need wheelchair access because now he is needing to use a wheelchair in order to move around. 2 weeks later, when Miguel actually returned to school, he was informed of a schedule change that happened because his class that he was enrolled in didn't have wheelchair access. And so he was moved from his biology class, which was a college prep course, to another science class, but he would still meet his graduation requirements. The parents were, reasonably upset about this change, and they requested a meeting immediately. So some of the legal and ethical issues that we came across here was definitely FAPE and IDEA. FAPE is a free and appropriate education, and it's part of Individuals with Disability Education Act. So the school was attempting to remove Miguel from a college prep course into a different science course because of their inability to provide wheelchair access to the biology classroom. And therefore, they're not providing him with a free and appropriate public education to comply with FAPE under IDEA. The other law that was not being abided by was the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Miguel's civil rights were being violated because the building was not up to code, thus hindering him from his academic success in that biology course in comparison to his peers who are not disabled. And finally, ADA, the American with Disability Act. Miguel's being discriminated against due to his disability. He's not being allowed public accommodations to his public school biology classroom. So what exactly is happening here? Due to the high school failing to be in 100% compliance with state and federal regulations for individuals with disabilities, Miguel Hernandez is being discriminated against by being denied access to this biology class for having a disability that requires him to be in a wheelchair. So some of the facts of this case, we're going to start with the people involved. Obviously the student, Miguel, he's an injured student that needs wheelchair access, and he's being removed from a class due to inability to provide the proper accommodations. His parents, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez, are also involved. They're the parents of the injured student, and they're extremely upset due to their student's rights being violated. Also, Howard Carey, he is the family attorney, and he's there to support the family in ensuring that their students' rights are not violated. We also have Miss Gussman, who is the school counselor, and she's actually the one who did the schedule change to remove Miguel from the biology class and did not contact the parents or anyone else prior to making the schedule change. Myself, Miss Handy, I am the school principal, and Dr. Harvey, the superintendent. Some unknown facts that we have at this point is, number one, did Miss Gussman act alone in her decision to switch Miguel's class? Was this something she discussed with, others in the building? Is the superintendent, Dr. Harvey, even aware of the situation involving the building and the codes? Are Miguel's parents even willing to work out this issue without a lawsuit? And have any other viable solutions even been discussed prior to the class switch? The place is Nottingham High School, which is in Dover, an urban area. We know that the building is only 3/4 up to code. We know that the biology class is located in the 1/4 of the building that is not up to code, and therefore since 1950s it hasn't been renovated. And we know that they house classrooms in relocatable trailers due to the lack of funding. Some unknown facts that we have as far as the place goes are there any other biology suitable classrooms with wheelchair access in the building to make a quick switch possible? What would be the cost and timeline to make the current biology class wheelchair accessible? And has there been like an evaluation on multiple sources of equitable and bias in the allocation of educational resources and opportunities to where funds have been spent in when they should have been spent on renovation? So were the funds put in the proper place, or do we have kind of missing funds that should have been used for renovations, but they were used for something else? And the last one is program. So we do know it's a public high school. We do know it's the only high school in the area. We know that they offer college prep classes, such as his biology class. We know that they're academically successful. They have a strong football team. And we know that the biology class in question does not have wheelchair access. Some unknown facts for the program are, does the school have experience with special needs kids that need wheelchair access? Is this the first time they've ever come across this? And then does Miguel have an active IEP or 504 as of yet? So to review and prioritize, due to the nature and sensitivity of the case, there are numerous individuals that have stake in this particular case, which can be damaging to them. So the first one is most obvious, and it's Miguel, the student. He's being denied access to his biology class, which is hindering his academic success. Obviously, his parents have stake in this because their son's rights are being violated due to his disability, which is causing them emotional stress and harm. The individuals at the high school, such as myself, the counselor, the superintendent, the school can be getting a bad reputation. Also, lawsuits that are involved with this issue. The staff and students are going to be involved because they may need to switch classes, which disrupts learning time since the building was not already up to code like it should be. And finally, the community members. They may lose respect for the school and pool their support and or resources for the school. So some possible outcomes and consequences. One would be take no action. So talk to the family about their concerns, but simply explain, sorry, this is the only viable solution right now. The student will just have to be moved out of biology, and don't worry, he's still going to graduate. The second option would be to just relocate the biology class. It might be disruptive to some students for a short period of time, but just move the biology class from one room to another that actually has wheelchair access. Renovation of the classroom, of course. This would say that we'd immediately begin renovation and to allow for the classroom to have wheelchair access. And he may not be able to take the class immediately, but he'll have the opportunity to take the class before he graduates. 4, he could take the course at another school. This would mean he'd have to move schools, but he'd still be able to take the course. He could take the course virtually, so he would take the biology class online. He's not going to be able to engage with his classmates like he would have if it was in his regular classroom, but at least he's still going to get the credit. Or finally, offer a private in-home teacher for biology for him. This is probably going to be extremely expensive, and I don't know that the school would be able to pay for it, but at least he would be able to have access to the course content and be successful academically. So when I evaluated the options, for take no action, the positive on that is that the counselor might feel supported. I couldn't think of much positive for that one, to be honest. The cons on that one is the student's going to be hindered academically because they're not able to take the course. For the second option, relocate the biology room, a pro would be that he's going to be able to participate in his college prep biology course with all of his peers like he was prior to his accident. The con there is this may cause some classroom disruption for other staff and students. The third option, which was to renovate the classroom, the positive there will be that he'll have access to the biology class and he won't have to switch out of it or move. But the con there is that funds will need to be found along with time, which is extremely hard, as we know. Number 4 would be to take the course at another school. The positive there will be that Miguel will be able to participate in his college prep class. But the con will be that he'd have to leave his school and his classmates due to the school being delinquent and being up to code. Then 5th one is to take the course virtually. He won't be able to participate with his class like normal with his peers like he was used to, but the positive in that is that he'll at least be able to participate in the class and be ready for college. Or finally, his private in-home tutor. The pro there would be that Miguel would, of course, be able to have access to the college prep course. The con there is obviously lack of funding and the lack of interaction with his classmates and peers. We know that, having a one-on-one teacher at home, while it's probably great, it's not the same as being in a classroom and interacting with your peers like he was used to and like he should be given. So the best option, in my opinion, based on all of the decisions I came up with, the one that seemed the most appropriate would be to move the biology class to another location at Nottingham High School. In order to advocate for equitable access to educational resources and opportunities that support the well-being of each student, this option is the best. This would allow Miguel to have access to his biology class as he did prior to his accident. I would require that the classroom switch happen after school hours to limit the disturbance of student contact time. Any and all materials needed in the classroom will be discussed beforehand and will be made available within 1 week's time, max. In order to implement this plan, I made a 7-step process that I would do. So number 1, I would attend a meeting with the parents and their attorney. Listen to their concerns thoroughly and ensure them that there will be a full investigation to figure out what exactly happened, and that I will touch back with them within 24 hours. It's important to give a timeline so that the parents understand that you understand their urgency. Step 2, I'm going to have to research the situation by meeting with Ms. Gussman to figure out what happened, why she did what she did, what was the rationale behind it, and also reach out to the superintendent to let them know of the situation because they may not be aware. Step 3, I would hold an emergency meeting with all school-based individuals to discuss the situation and to brainstorm the options that we have at the table. We will also discuss the laws that have been broken and the seriousness of the situation. My step 4 would be within 24 hours, so the next day, hold another meeting with the parents and their attorney, along with the counselor, the biology teacher, and Miguel himself. Of course, apologize and be sympathetic with the situation, and let them know that the best option we came up with was to simply move the biology class to another location in the actual building that has wheelchair access. At that point, I'd listen to the parents' concerns and see if they would like to make any adjustments to that plan. Step 5 would be to draft the 504 plan for Miguel to match what we've already agreed upon. If there isn't already a 504 plan in place, then we would actually make one. And step 6, the next afternoon at the soonest, or within 3 days, to be realistic, I'd like to have custodial staff move the biology class from the location that doesn't have wheelchair access to a new location that does. And if that means switching with another classroom, so be it. We need to do that. We also need to ensure that all materials have been moved as well. So there's no reason to not be able to begin class immediately. And finally, step 7, monitor the progress of the situation and the student. And just be in touch with the parents and let them know kind of what's going on.